Hey TYT, hey YouTube, Josh Gibbs here, back with another WWE video for TYT Sports. Thank you as always for joining me. Today, real quick, we're going to go over the best of 2016. I just made a couple real quick categories, picked some, and I figured this would be a great thing that we can talk about because I'm sure some of you are going to agree and a good majority of you are going to disagree. But as you know, I like to comment on everything you guys put down below in our little comment section. We go back and forth. Hopefully we have a good time. I make some good points. You guys make some great points as well. And give me some really good ideas for future videos. So without further ado, we're going to do this list. And then we're going to go over some real quick things getting ready for the Rumble here at the end of January. We had a lot of happenings on Raw that just wrapped up a little bit ago. So let's jump right into it. Okay. 2016, it was an okay year for pro wrestling in the WWE anyway. There were a lot of great things that happened all around other promotions, but in WWE specifically, they made some good moves and some bad moves. Let's first of all, we got the best debut that I'm listing for the WWE in 2016. It's got to go to AJ Styles. You talk about a guy who has been there and done that. Independent circuit, Ring of Honor, TNA, New Japan. This guy has been all around the world, and he's so well respected by all of these wrestling organizations. And no one thought he would ever go to WWE just because he had so much indie cred. They thought, people think that going to the WWE is a sellout move. But whether you like them or not, the WWE is the top of the pro wrestling food chain. Yeah, there are other promotions that do really, really great things, but the WWE is still the big leagues and everybody else is the minors. That's just the way it is. So for AJ Styles to finally make that leap into WWE was the best thing for him, for him personally, and it's great for his brand. And it introduced a lot of people to his style who may not be familiar with him. He's a fantastic wrestler, and as you've seen, WWE has elevated him to the forefront of their show. He may even be headlining Wrestlemania. We'll get to that in a little bit. Number 2, who was the biggest unlikely champion that we had in 2016? I'm going to Heath Slater. Heath Slater had this fantastic run from chump to champ, and he did this whole thing. They weren't really sure what to do with his character. He did this whole I got kids thing, and they did these vignettes in the trailer park with him and all this stuff, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. I personally enjoyed it because Heath Slater kind of represented all of us. He was this everyman, and he was believable as an everyman, and people started to really like him. And next thing you know, he's a tag team champion with Rhino. I thought it was fantastic. They got it at Backlash in September, and they had a really great run, and they've been dethroned since then. But that's okay because I think they did a fantastic job doing what they needed to do, and I think this spells good things hopefully for Heath Slater coming up this year. Number 3, what was the most surprising moment of 2016? I'm saying it's when Goldberg crushed Brock Lesnar at Survivor Series. And the reason I chose that as the most surprising moment is because not many people predicted that it would be a squash match. After so much buildup and after so much anticipation for this rematch, I know I personally predicted that Goldberg was going to take, or that Lesnar was going to take it, so that they would each be 1-1, and then the third match would be decided at WrestleMania. But I was wrong. A lot of people were wrong, and the WWE's going in a different direction. And instead, Goldberg smashed him. Less than 2 minutes the match lasted, and then it was over. A lot of people kind of felt cheated because, hey, this is the main event of your pay-per-view, and it had so much build-up. They were expecting something a little more along the lines of an actual match, and instead, we didn't get that. But this does make us salivate a little more because I would be lying if I said I didn't want to know where they're going with this. How are they going to wrap this story up by WrestleMania? Because that's where typically all storylines end, and then the new ones begin in the new year. So we'll see, but I chopped that up as the most surprising moment of this past year. Number 4, what was the worst match? The worst match of 2016, I'm giving that to Curtis Axel and R-Truth at Fastlane way back in February. You're probably saying, when? Who? They had a match? Yeah, actually they did. It wasn't even announced. That's how terrible this was. It was put into fill. And why this was one of the worst matches is this match, or this show, was actually so poorly received, this pay-per-view, that it led to the hashtag cancel WWE Network trending on Twitter. The entire pay-per-view felt like a third hour of Raw. It was just awful. It was slow. It was monotonous. What didn't help was that the main event was Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and Brock Lesnar for who was going to be the number 1 contender at WrestleMania 32 against Triple H. Everyone knew it was going to be Roman Reigns. Everyone knew that. So that doesn't help your main event when it's a foregone conclusion of who's going to win the match and then go on to headline WrestleMania. We all knew that was coming. So the whole rest of the pay-per-view, I won't bore you with all the rest of the card, but the whole thing was just a mess. And this match being so last minute, it lasted less than 2.5 minutes anyway. It was just nonsense. It was absolutely horrible. And final one, what was the best match of 2016? Absolute best match took place in April at NXT TakeOver Dallas, and that was Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura. If you haven't watched NXT, do yourself a favor and do it. Or at the very least, go find this show, this match, and watch it. It was fantastic. It was Sami Zayn's last match in NXT before he came full-time to the main roster. It was it was their introduction to Shinsuke Nakamura, people who hadn't seen him wrestle and weren't really familiar with his work in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he did not disappoint. He showed why he's known as the king of strong style and how he brings such a really unique blend of athleticism and technical proficiency into all of his matches. He brings all these things into NXT that they really, really needed for the WWE, and it's something that I think had been sorely lacking for a while, and he's really given the whole program a shot in the arm. And he's definitely a guy that we'll be seeing on the main roster eventually, but for right now, he's doing great at sort of leading this charge with Samoa Joe and some other really big names in NXT, trying to help some of these younger guys, because he's been in the game for quite some time. So that was absolutely a fantastic match. Do yourself a favor and watch it if you haven't. Okay, that was my top 5. What do you think? Did you agree? Did you disagree? Make a comment below, and we'll talk about it. So real quick, let's move on to just a couple of points on the upcoming Royal Rumble. Just on Raw this past night, on Monday, we had a couple of really big events happen. Number one, I love Neville. The direction that they're going with him, the WWE has turned him heel. He's now saying he's the king of the cruiserweights and that he's just running through them. Neville is a fantastic athlete. He can do a lot of great things. The cruiserweight division is the perfect place for him. I think they're doing exactly what they should have done with him when he came back from his injury, and it's working out fantastic. It's giving the cruiserweight division a little bit of a push, which is what it needed. It was starting to get stale, and I think Neville he's done a fantastic job. So I really appreciate that the WWE has given him this opportunity instead of just bringing him back as the same character he was before that wasn't really going anywhere to begin with. We had a title change on Raw, which doesn't happen that often. Chris Jericho actually won the United States Championship from Roman Reigns, and this was the United States Champion was the first heavyweight belt that the only heavyweight belt Jericho hadn't held yet. So this was a monumental night for him. Does this spell a good thing or a bad thing? Now, it was a handicap match, so some people kind of saw the writing on the wall that Roman Reigns was going to lose the belt, but now it's made people a little nervous, because now Reigns doesn't have a belt. So does this mean he's going to now announce himself for the Rumble, win the Rumble yet again, and then go on to headline WrestleMania? I personally do not think that's the plan. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But some people are already thinking, well, that's why he just dropped this belt, because now that's going to happen. I don't think that's the way they're going to go, but I've been wrong before. But I can't see Vince just going all in for Reigns yet again for another WrestleMania. He has to know how disappointed people have been with it, and I think they have other plans for the main event too. And that leads to the final point for what just happened as a good build-up for the Royal Rumble. The Undertaker came back. Now, The Undertaker is technically assigned to SmackDown, but he's The Undertaker. He doesn't really follow anybody's rules. He does whatever he wants. So he shows up and he announces that he is going to be a member of the Royal Rumble match. So that gives us 10 official entrants for the Royal Rumble on January 29th in San Antonio. And that means Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, all the 3 members of the New Day, Chris Jericho, Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin, Seth Rollins, and The Undertaker. That's 10. So we're a third of the way there for the 30-man match. Remember, whoever wins the Royal Rumble gets a shot at one of the heavyweight titles. Now, we have 2, since we have the World Heavyweight Championship and we have the Universal title. So in theory, whoever wins the Rumble can choose either or champion to challenge at WrestleMania. You would think they're going to choose whoever the WWE champion is, simply because that's the more prestigious title. The company hasn't really done a good job of making the Universal title seem all that alluring. So, other than that, the confirmed matches we have for the Royal Rumble is Charlotte versus Bayley, AJ Styles versus Cena for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Those last 2 are interesting because let's say Cena beats Styles and is your new champion, and Reigns beats Owens. He's your new champion. Now you have two champions who The Undertaker could challenge, so which one is he going to challenge? What if he goes crazy and says, I challenge you both? He could buck the system and make it a triple threat. And he could beat them both and be double champion. There's a lot of ways the company can go. I still think the plan is Undertaker and John Cena at WrestleMania to headline. This gives a win at the Royal Rumble will give John Cena his 16th championship, and then maybe he holds it all the way until WrestleMania. Undertaker wins it for the last time, and then he's free to retire after that if he so chooses. Who knows? There's so many moving parts, and this is what makes it fun. We can speculate here back and forth on what do we think is going to happen and what's our prediction for how these matches are going to go, but we simply don't know. We just have to wait and see, but it's a lot of fun to talk about. So I know we did a previous video where we did some predictions on what's coming up for WrestleMania 33, and we're going to keep doing them as it gets closer and closer to April. I will actually be there in Orlando for the show, so hopefully I'll be able to give you guys some really great first-hand perspective. If you're going to be there, I'd love to sit and chat with you during the weekend that I'm there. Anyway, that's all I got. Make sure you watch Royal Rumble. It's one of the big four. It's traditionally one of the better pay-per-views because it finally gives us a glimpse over how WrestleMania is going to shape up to be. So January 29th, Sunday, from San Antonio. It should be a good show. More matches are going to be announced in the next week or two to confirm the card. And then the Royal Rumble itself is always a good time. Who's going to be there? There's already speculation that we may have Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, if you don't know, huge star all around the world. And John Cena, very good friend of his, very respects his work a lot. And he's been showing up a lot on John Cena's Instagram. That happened right before AJ Styles appeared at the Royal Rumble too. So is it possible Kenny Omega becomes an entrance into the Royal Rumble? Does that mean he signed with WWE? He recently left New Japan and said, hey, I'm going. He didn't say that he was going to WWE. He didn't say what he was doing. So it's entirely possible we could see Kenny Omega in the Royal Rumble. If you've never seen him, you're in for a treat. The guy is insanely talented. He's really, really fantastic and a joy to watch. So what do you guys think? Am I wrong? Am I way off base? Or do you think I'm kind of at least getting some of my ducks in a row? Anyway, leave the comments below. I'd love to read them. I'll respond back to every single one of them that I can, and I hope to see you in the comments. Thank you, as always, to TYT Sports. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Universe, and we'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye-bye.